Have you ever caught yourself picturing a caveman crouched by a fire, casually puffing on something? It sounds ridiculous, but the question of whether prehistoric humans smoked is way more real than you'd think. And the answer? It might change how you look at that campfire forever. Okay, first things first. When we say smoking, what do we even mean? Today, smoking usually means one thing: rolling up dried plant material, lighting it, and inhaling the smoke on purpose to feel something. Nicotine, a buzz, a head rush. That's a pretty specific behavior. And to figure out if our ancestors did it, we have to break the idea into pieces. Because smoking is actually a bundle of things all tangled together. Piece 1, fire. Piece 2, inhaling smoke. Piece 3, doing it deliberately, for an effect. Let's take them one at a time, stickman style. Fire is easy. Humans have been controlling fire for a very, very long time. We're talking hundreds of thousands of years, possibly close to 1 million depending on which archaeologist you ask. Our ancestors sat around fires to stay warm, to cook, to keep predators away, and honestly, probably just to stare at the flames like we still do today. So the fire part, totally checked off. No problem there. Now here's where it gets interesting. If you sit next to a fire, especially inside a cave or a hut with bad ventilation, you are absolutely inhaling smoke. Not on purpose, but constantly. Picture our little stickman sitting cross-legged by the fire, roasting a hunk of meat. Every breath he takes is a little bit of wood smoke going into his lungs. For prehistoric people, breathing smoke wasn't a lifestyle choice. It was just Tuesday, every single day. And we actually have evidence of this. When scientists study the remains of ancient humans, especially people who lived in enclosed spaces with indoor fires, they find signs of respiratory problems, soot-damaged lungs, the kind of stuff you'd expect from decades of breathing wood smoke. So in a weird, accidental way, nearly every prehistoric human was a smoker, just not the way we mean it. They inhaled smoke all the time. They just weren't doing it for fun. But that brings us to the big question, the interesting one. Did they ever inhale smoke on purpose? Did any prehistoric human ever look at a plant and think, I bet if I burn that and breathe it in, something cool will happen? And here's the honest answer. Proving this is really, really hard. Smoke disappears. A plant burned 50,000 years ago doesn't leave a receipt. There's no ancient pack of cigarettes buried in a cave. So archaeologists have to be clever, and they have to be careful, because it's easy to see what you want to see. Let's think about it logically, though. Prehistoric humans knew their plants incredibly well. Their survival depended on it. They knew which berries would kill you, which roots would heal you, which leaves would ease a fever. They were basically walking encyclopedias of the plant world, built over thousands of generations of trial and error. And a lot of those plants, when you burn them, release smoke that does things to you. Some smells amazing, some makes you dizzy, some has real medicinal effects. So imagine our stickman again. He throws some herbs on the fire, maybe just because they smell nice, or maybe to keep the bugs away. And then he notices, that smoke makes my headache go away. Or, that smoke makes me feel a little floaty. Do you really think, over tens of thousands of years, not a single human ever leaned in a little closer to breathe that in on purpose? That seems almost impossible. Humans are curious, painfully curious. We are the animal that pokes the thing to see what happens. Now, we do have solid evidence of humans using plants for their effects going back a long way. People chewed leaves, brewed things, ate certain mushrooms and cacti. The deliberate use of mind-altering plants is genuinely ancient and shows up across many different cultures on different continents. That part isn't really in question. Humans have been seeking out these experiences for a long, long time. But smoking specifically, as in burning a substance and inhaling the smoke as the main method, is trickier to pin down. The clearest, most solid archaeological evidence for smoking with actual pipes and dedicated tools is a lot more recent than the Ice Age. We're talking thousands of years ago, not hundreds of thousands. Ancient peoples in various parts of the world made pipes, and we've found residue inside some of them that tells us what they were burning. That's the gold standard. A pipe with chemical traces still inside it. That's a receipt. So here's the tension. On one hand, the hard physical proof for deliberate smoking, the kind you can hold in your hand and test in a lab, points to a relatively recent invention of smoking as a practice. On the other hand, the ingredients for smoking, fire plus plants plus a curious human, existed for hundreds of thousands of years. The opportunity was there the entire time. My honest take? The truth is probably somewhere in the middle, and it's beautiful. Prehistoric humans almost certainly experienced smoke from burning plants, both by accident and probably sometimes on purpose, in rituals, in healing, or just in curiosity. Throwing aromatic plants on a fire and breathing the smoke is such a simple, universal thing that it's hard to imagine it never happened. But smoking as a refined habit, with tools and technique and doing it just to catch a buzz, that seems to be a later development that grew out of those early experiments. Think of it like a slow evolution. It probably started with an accident. Smoke in the eyes, smoke in the lungs, just from living near fire. Then, somewhere along the way, someone noticed that certain smoke did something. Then, someone started doing it on purpose. Then, much later, someone built a tool to do it better. Smoking wasn't invented in a single moment by a single genius stickman. It emerged, slowly, out of the simplest thing in the world, sitting by a fire. And here's the part I find genuinely wild. The thing that damaged their lungs was the same thing that kept them alive. Fire cooked their food, warmed their bodies, protected them in the dark. The smoke was the price of survival. They couldn't opt out of it the way we can. Every prehistoric human breathed smoke, every day, for their entire lives, whether they wanted to or not. So did prehistoric humans smoke? If you mean did they roll up a cigarette and light up for the vibe, then no, probably not. At least not in the way we do now. But if you mean did smoke fill their lungs day after day, and did curious humans almost certainly lean into that smoke on purpose at least sometimes, then the answer is a quiet, smoky yes. So the next time you picture that caveman by his fire, don't imagine him puffing on something for fun. Imagine something stranger and more real. A little stickman sitting in a haze of wood smoke that he can't escape, staring into the flames, breathing it in with every single breath. He was surrounded by smoke his whole life. And somewhere in that haze, one curious human leaned a little closer, took a deliberate breath, and quietly started a habit we've never managed to put down.